One, Travel and Things in association with Rugged Wear, Real People, Real Clothing, Real Solutions presents In Conversation With. I'm your host, David Batsoffen, and my guest today is a longtime friend. I don't want to say old friend because that has too many different connotations. Is a longtime friend, Niki Seberini. And this seems to be a quote, this is a quote of hers: life is not coming at you, it's coming from you. And so it should be. Niki, good morning and welcome.
Good morning, David. It's wonderful to be with you this morning. Thanks for inviting me. And to be in conversation with Mr. David Batsoffen is a joy and a privilege.
Well, thank you so very much. And now we can stop patting each other on the back.
It was rather nice, actually. I quite enjoy a back pat every now and then.
Don't we all? Niki, when I went to look at your website, as I said, you and I have known each other for what seems like 100 years, or maybe 99, or 101. I don't know. That it's unimportant. You have pivoted, You have pivoted so many times in your career. So what is it that you currently do? And what has COVID done to either enable you or disable you?
I love that. Able or disable. It's really the way you look at it, isn't it?
Yeah.
David, you're right. I mean, so many wonderful careers, and I've had the opportunity to do really fantastic things. But currently, I call myself a mind freedom fighter. And basically, my passion is to help people go beyond these self-limiting beliefs and these constraining thoughts, these constructs that we create over our lives that kind of imprison us. And how do we get back to who we were before we got stuck in the construct and before we got really attached to those self-limiting beliefs, which really create who we are in the world. So it's about deconstructing those identities. It's about identifying it and using an incredible self-inquiry technique. So that's what I do. And always been very interested in breathing and breathing techniques, mindfulness, awareness. And so COVID brought about an opportunity, and the opportunity was born out of experiencing COVID, getting the Delta variant, unfortunately, with my whole family, and feeling incredibly anxious because of it and experiencing many anxiety attacks because of it. I was so unprepared, David, for how this virus attacked my nervous system. It was off the charts crazy. You know, I mean, as soon as the sun started to set, I could feel this panic starting to rise. My husband's health was deteriorating. And funnily enough, the only thing that could help me, unfortunately, I couldn't meditate because my nervous system was so activated. I actually couldn't keep still long enough. So I just used slow breathing, and it became my friend and it became my tool. And so COVID, the opportunity that COVID gave me was that after that, working with people who had also come out of it so anxious, was to instruct them to use the slow breathing. So we would start with the straw, and then I started working on a little tool that people could work on, and now that's a focus as well. So yes, lots of pivoting, lots of moving, growing. I love doing that, David. I love seeing new opportunities and new growth areas.
I think we all should, but I just want to tap into stuff that you said there because it's so important. I almost want to say we become our parents at a particular point, or we become what our parents always told us we would or wouldn't be. And those sort of boxes that we are put in by society, by family, or by ourselves, pardon me, are very difficult to break out of because we're scared. You know, there's a wonderful quote, and I have it tattooed on my arm, in fact, from The Artist's Way, saying, leap and the net will appear. It doesn't mean that you must just be stupid and jump off Table Mountain, but it does mean that you can step out of your comfort zone into whatever it is that makes you uncomfortable, yet it's not going to harm you. You know, at the end of the day, you are your own strength. And we need to look inwards. I think if COVID taught us nothing at all, it taught us to become reliant on ourselves rather than others, to be nurtured by.
Well, isn't that interesting that It did focus on going within, because that leaping and that change, David, can only happen when there is a consciousness and awareness.
Yeah.
It's looking at the self and saying, this is not working for me, or I'm no longer comfortable being here. When we're unconscious, we don't know. We just are, there comes the quote, life is coming at us, and that's how it feels. We feel that we are the victim of our circumstance or event or whatever it is that's happening to us. And so we're in constant reaction to it. But as soon as we become conscious, as soon as we become aware that there's something internal, there's something happening within us that we can shift, then we take that leap of faith. Then we jump, right? And that net will hold us, because without those beliefs or the constructs, as we said, becoming who our parents kind of told us we would become, or our teachers, or interactions with our friends, or that primary caregiver, the way they treated us, it defines so many things within us. But when we realize that we are not that, then that's jumping into this beautiful space and realizing that this net that we've never really become aware of, or that we've never befriended, or this net that we land in then can project us into a whole different realm.
Yeah.
But that starts with a consciousness and a realization that, wow, there's so much more happening here. That's pretty exciting, right?
It is indeed. And that's the issue, because we all get, I don't know, we sucked into other people's games. Specifically when it comes to family. There's a pattern that develops over years, and everybody in the family plays a role. And you get used to that role, and that's just how it is until somebody dies or you move away or whatever. You can break that. But breaking that chain is so incredibly difficult, because you've taken on a particular role and now it's just expanded and expanded, and you don't want to do it anymore, but you can't stop, because that's the role that you've decided to play, and others are forcing you to play that. So what you're saying is that become mindful of what you want and look inward and treat yourself specially rather than other people.
Yes, David. And I want to say something that you said something, you've chosen that role. And I would question that, because I think a lot of the times we don't choose that role. It's unconscious. It's part of the subconscious that comes up that we're not even aware of. When we're reacting to something that our parents say, or a sibling, you mentioned patterns. We are in a holding pattern. Yeah. This entire life we're in a pattern and we don't even know it. I talk about it's a dance. People talk about a dance of life. My idea of a dance is we're in this choreographed move and we don't even know it, and we're stuck in it. So yes, the consciousness and the mindfulness will make us aware of that dance or that pattern. Because the funny thing is you said, that person, you may move away from that person or that dynamic, or a family member may leave, they may pass on. But haven't you noticed, David, how the pattern continues in your life? That without realizing it, you find yourself connected to a person, and the same pattern, the same issue, the same dynamic comes up, right? Yeah. And so the question is, as you've said, how do you break it? So a lot of people will go for psychotherapy, and that is amazing, because the awareness is the light turns on. But when we have this idea that we're having an outside-in experience, and I've had this idea that I am this way, or I react this way because I was brought up, I was told this terrible experience happened to me, then I'm having this, I'm a victim. Life's coming at me, not coming from me. But when I realize that it's just a story, that it's a belief, it's the meaning I made out of the situation or the lessons that I was taught. It's the meaning, it's the interpretation. I can get to change that.
You can indeed.
That's it. We don't want to be the victim. We don't want to say, I am this because of that, because you never break out of that pattern. You'll have moments of freedom, but actually when times get tough, you will just kick back into that pattern because it's there. It's coming, as I said, you're not consciously choosing it. It's coming from that subconscious, and we're driven by that subconscious 95% of the time.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, so but there is a way of doing it, and it's the going within, and it's called self-inquiry.
Yeah.
So you
We
ask
tend not
yourself
to do that. We're
question,
too
or we don't
scared
want
to.
to. Oh,
No.
and it's so much easier to blame other people, isn't it?
Listen, Nikki,
It's work, yeah.
I'm a Gemini. I know what lurks inside of me. It's only
You
taken
just don't
me.
want to go there.
I just don't want to go there anymore.
Yeah.
This type of thing, just to move away from what you were saying for a moment, and we'll come back to that with this product that we spoke of, that you alluded to earlier. Being on radio is, it's sometimes a disconnect, because you can't see, and I know the station that you're on, and they don't engender, or that audience doesn't necessarily phone in constantly like some other talk radio stations do. So you don't know if your message is landing. But now you've started coffee groups that started here in our suburb, just up the road from us, and seem to have expanded to other suburbs. What sort of feedback are you getting? Firstly, is it a women's only event? Do you welcome men into the space? And if so, how have you found the interactions face to face, both with the audience amongst themselves and the audience with you?
So an interesting one, because it's definitely open to everybody, and yet it's more women who come than men. And yet when the men do show up for the coffee and conversations, they find it quite an overwhelming experience, because it's an environment where they can just feel relaxed and open and connected. And so strangely enough, the men who have attended coffee and conversations have become very emotional in that environment. It's been very interesting to see, David. And yeah, so you were saying?
No, I was going to say, because us guys, cowboys don't cry. I had to be taught to cry in a public space, which is very cathartic. It really and truly is, if you're prepared to let go. Now, you alluded earlier to a particular tool, you called it. So let's go back to, he says, not finding, there you go. That's exactly what I'm looking for, which is that. So talk me through what this is, and what it looks beautiful. It really and truly does.
Oh, thanks, David. So this is, there's an interesting story behind the Halcyon. As I said, I started working with a straw because the idea, and anyone can do it, anyone who's watching this, if they feel overwhelmed, or if they feel stressed, if they feel anxious, if they just want to be in the present moment, get out of this emotional brain and activate the prefrontal cortex so that the executive functions can start to be activated once again, just slow your breathing down. It's really very simple. So you inhale slowly and you extend the exhale, so it's longer and it's slower. And if you do this for a short period of time, the vagus nerve is stimulated. And when the vagus nerve is stimulated, it switches off the sympathetic nervous system and it switches on the parasympathetic. So the sympathetic is your fight, flight, freeze, and the parasympathetic is your rest and digest. And we have this activated sympathetic nervous system all the time. We don't even realize it. So when we're stressed, we're having to answer emails, we're having to get into the traffic, we're having to meet a deadline, that becomes activated. And it's great when we're really in danger, but when we're not, and we have these stress hormones in our system all the time, it's very, very bad. So going all the way back, this tool is to help with all of those. And so using the straw is great, but you don't always have a straw with you. And I wanted something that you could carry around with you. I wanted something that was also something you could have a personal relationship with. David, it's very smooth and it's got a certain weight about it. And I find myself stroking it and holding it and feeling it. And that in itself is a mindfulness, a conscious awareness, a reminder to be back and present. But you'll notice there's a little hole, and that's what you do. So it's just inhaling and then exhaling into the Halcyon. And
the design?
Yes, the design, there were quite a few iterations, actually. I worked closely with a great jeweler by the name of Brendan Klutter. And in the beginning, we were looking at all African things. We're here, we're in South Africa, we've got such an amazing heritage. And then I remember a friend said to me, you know, Niki, this is such a personal journey. You know, this is born out of such personal struggle during COVID. You've got to go within and see what comes up. And it's an amazing story, because it was on a Saturday morning and I was sitting in my lounge and I was chatting to someone on the phone. And David, and you would appreciate this because you love nature, a bird flew through my house, flew past me, and flew out the door in front of me. Now, what are the chances of a bird flying in through the window behind you and flying out through the door in front of you without hitting anything?
Yeah.
I mean, I hate it when birds are in the house. It terrifies me because I'm scared they're going to hurt themselves. They hit the light and then they hit the wall and then they're making a mess. But this bird didn't. It was just a straight line in and out. It flew past me. And when it flew past me, I noticed this turquoise. And this bird then landed on this branch outside my lounge. And it just sat there. And it gave me enough time to check it out. And it was a kingfisher.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I grabbed my binoculars and I looked. A kingfisher. I mean, what are the chances, David, that a kingfisher flies through, right?
Flies
like you
through
probably
your
think I'm insane. Exactly. I mean, most people would think that I'm completely insane. And so I was fascinated, a kingfisher. So I went and I Googled Mr. and Mrs. Google. They're our greatest friend. What does it mean? And what are the translations? And in this language and that language. And after quite a bit of research, I uncovered that halcyon is the Greek word for kingfisher, halcyon. But there are lots of other meanings for the word halcyon. You mentioned it earlier, halcyon days. And what are halcyon days? Days of happiness and peace and joy and prosperity. So we have halcyon days. But then there's more to that, because this halcyon, which is the Greek word for kingfisher, the halcyon was a mythical bird. It was a kingfisher from ancient times that it was able to calm the rough seas and the wind in order to nest. And I found that fascinating. So the wind, so again, accessing the breath, right? So that's what it would do. So there were all these meanings. And I do have a relationship with a kingfisher. I've always had a connection with the kingfisher. So it just unfolded, David. It was incredible. I thought, well, there it is. I mean, it's not the easiest name to use, halcyon, but I had to listen to the kingfisher that flew past me. Who am I to say no to a kingfisher?
Who are you to fly in the face of visiting kingfishers?
Thank you. I'm glad you understand and you're not having me committed to a
had
mental
Robin
institution.
Williams been alive, and if he'd flown past you, it would have been the Fisher King.
Dave, that was good, hey? Now that was good.
Thank you, Johannesburg. I'll be here all week.
That was outstanding. Ka-ching king. Or did you hear me? Ka-ching king.
Whoa, what can we say?
We're on a roll, Dave. We're on a roll.
We should take this on the road, you know, Niki.
I think we should.
Play to two people in a tiny coffee shop in Melbourne. Niki, if people want to find out more about the halcyon, about what it is that you do, I know that if I'm not mistaken, you still have one coffee and conversation left before 2022 kisses us goodbye. How can people find out about that?
Dave, they just need to go to my website, which is nikiseberini.com. They can get hold of me there. There is a little tab there for the halcyon as well. But just go via my website. They can read up more about me and what I do, and then they can contact me directly. I'm quite friendly and I do get back to people.
Wonderful stuff. My guest today on In Conversation With has been Niki Seberini. Niki, it's been wonderful chatting to you. I wish you all the best for 2022 and whatever 2023 holds for you.
Thank you, David. And whatever the net is that we fall into, it may be a wonderful one and teach us all the lessons that it's meant to. And thanks for your time and thanks for inviting me, David. It's really been great. Thank you.
It's only a pleasure. Once again, on In Conversation With Niki Seberini. Look up her website, www.nikiseberini.com.